It's so much easier to blame.
It's so much easier to blame ourselves for things rather than forgiving ourselves and moving on. And the reason for that is when we're feeling guilty about something, when we're feeling sorry about something, when we're feeling negative about something, it's much more easier for us to stay in that momentum and to never change. When we're blaming ourselves, our mind justifies to us that this is the reason why you deserve to be punished. This is the reason why all of these bad things are happening to you. So I'm going to badger you with all of these bad things, which is why I'm not going to allow you to go after which you want to experience. It would have been so much more easier if you just went after it. So one of the things that you need to do is to remind yourself that blaming yourself solves nothing, even if it might feel that way. Even if it feels like, okay, if I blame myself, I will never repeat that action again. Because there's no guarantee about that. We often use blaming ourselves as a crutch to absolve ourselves of the actual action that we must be taking, which is to take responsibility for those actions. So yeah, first things first, remind yourself that blaming yourself solves nothing. That's a no-brainer, right? But your brain doesn't give a crap about no-brainers. Braining is what brains do, so that's actually kind of derogatory for them. Okay, that was really... Question that I'd like you to ask yourself is, what is it that you're actually blaming yourself for? Is it the action? Is it the outcome? You have blamed yourself if things had turned out differently. Do you actually blame yourself, or do you think that you need to blame yourself? These things, they're deeper than we give them credit for. It might just seem like you're blaming yourself because you're such a bad person, but how did you even reach that conclusion? So what I want you to do is to take out a pen and paper and to just write this question out on the top of the paper. What is it that I'm actually blaming myself for? And then I want you to start writing and write and write and write till nothing more comes. And that's when you write some more. I want you to put out a timer of at least 5 minutes and then just to write about this question. What is it that I'm actually blaming myself for? Blaming ourselves is actually a way of taking control of the narrative by rendering ourselves out of control, and it doesn't help. It's not going to help at all. Next question that I want you to ask is it actually you who's blaming yourself? I know it's weird. Okay. And the reason I want you to answer that is because sometimes we're all acting out of what we know, what we've learned over the years. And often what we think is our moral compass is actually just the moral compass that we've adopted from other people. So I want you to really delve into it and go crazy about it. Go crazy about this thing. So ask yourself, am I blaming myself from the perspective of my father, from the perspective of my mom, from the perspective of my friends, from the perspective of the society, because this is not considered nice or good? Then I want you to ask yourself, do I agree with this? Do I, as an individual, agree with this? Not the individual that I supposedly am, but the individual that I am inside. It's going to be extremely difficult. It comes really naturally to me personally because that's the way that I've sort of trained my brain to think. If this is your first time, this could essentially be called self-inquiry. So if this is your first time doing self-inquiry, it's definitely going to be a little bit difficult. If you start asking yourself these questions, those answers would come much more easily. Now I want you to pointedly ask yourself, are you blaming yourself and not forgiving yourself because you don't want to take responsibility for your actions? Because it's so much more easier to say, oh, I'm so sorry, I wish I'd never done this, and then to go ahead and do those same things over and over again, because we do not want to take responsibility for our actions. And there's a sort of satisfaction that comes from doing something that is considered to be taboo, that is considered to be wrong from the perspective of the general populace, or what we believe the right or wrong is according to our personal moral compass. And it's a freaked up thing. It's a really freaked up thing, which is why sometimes we guilt ourselves. Okay, I should have never done that thing. I wish I'd never done that thing. And we say these things just so we don't actually have to change the way that we act. We act guilty so that we don't have to become a better person. So I want you to be honest with yourself, because here's the thing, you don't have to show these answers to anybody. You can show them to me. I won't force you, but you can if you want to. I mean, these are your own personal answers. This is for your eyes only. And the thing is that if you cannot be honest with yourselves about how you actually truly feel, I think you're wasting your life. I think the very definition of life should be to be able to discover who we truly are. We put so much value into exploring the world and exploring other people, their minds. The real gold mine starts from right here. Even if all you've ever done is to judge yourself, even then I want you to be extremely passionately honest with yourself, because when you do that, when you show to yourself that, okay, I'm someone that deserves this sort of honesty, your perception about your own self-worth changes. So this goes beyond, forgiving yourself. It in fact, it changes a lot of other things in your life. The next question I want you to ask is, what would happen if you stopped blaming yourself? And how I want you to address this is, think for a moment that if, by the hand of God, this self-flagellation, this anger, this embarrassment that you're feeling currently, it just vanishes like this. What would happen to you? Would you feel peaceful? Would you feel like there's a lack? Would you feel like, oh, finally? Or would you feel like, okay, yeah, sure. Just write whatever the first thing that comes to your mind is. What we're essentially doing here is to figure out why exactly that guilt, that blame is still here. Because I believe that anything that exists,
there's a reason behind it. There's no reason behind it, but there is a reason behind it. There'll be no reason behind it. That's okay.
So what we're doing is we're trying to figure out what we're getting out of being guilty with ourselves. See, our minds are like a maze. Everything connects to each other. This blame, it has to come from something. I want you to look at all the answers that you've written down, and I want you to practice radical honesty with yourself. I want you to ask yourself, what exactly am I getting by doing these things, by blaming myself, by not forgiving myself? What does not forgiving myself give to me? And you'll find that there is something. And here's the thing, if you've answered honestly, if you've reached that unconscious part of yourself that sort of automates this knee-jerk reaction of blaming yourself whenever anything happens, you'll realize that, okay, there's something that you're definitely getting out of this. If your answer is no, how could you ever assume that I'm getting something out of this? Yeah, sure. If that's what you want to believe in, and if that's what works for you, then great. Go off, sis. Go off blaming yourself, sis. Again, being radically honest with yourself and being honest with who you are, that changes things. I think one of the things that all of us lack is like this sense of honesty. We're often pretending to other people, and that sort of trickles down with ourselves as well, which shouldn't actually be happening. We deserve better than pretending with ourselves. One of the things that you could be getting out of this is being in the good graces of people.
I was a massive people pleaser. I used to really like when people were nice to me. I used to crave for people's approval. So I realized that, okay, if I say sorry, often I apologize for my mistakes, or if I accept blame for my actions, or even their actions sometimes, I remain in their good graces, and hence that people-pleasing part of me would feel happier.
People-pleasing comes from having a lack of self-worth. When we associate our self-worth with other people's approval of us, with other people's behavior towards us, that's when we're willing to behead ourselves and put our skulls in another person's feet, just so they reaffirm to us that, okay, you deserve to exist, or you matter. So yeah, guilt could be a manifestation of that. It could also be a manifestation of wanting to manipulate the other person. There, I said it. And don't shoot the messenger, because a lot of people do that. They make themselves feel guilty and ask forgiveness from another person, just so that they would soften towards them, or that the other person doesn't blame us and doesn't retaliate. So it's a way of having your cake and eating it too. So you're able to do the bad behavior, and then you don't even get to take the punishment for it. It could also be that you're scared of success. that by blaming yourself or by not forgiving yourself, you do not allow yourself to, take these steps and take the actions that would give you the results that you're looking for. So by doing this, you're punishing yourself, and by punishing yourself, you're justifying not getting your desires, aka karma.
One of the things that I've noticed with karma is, and I do believe in karma, I do think that it exists for sure. But in a lot of ways, some people, they get instant karma, while some people, they don't get any karma at all. And one of the things that I've noticed is, and I'm not saying that this is the universal one sole truth, but for me personally, I feel like there's some merit to it, is that, the people who feel guilty about their actions, they tend to get instant karma. Because in their mind, there's always this fear at the back of their head, okay, so I've been a bad person, so I'm going to get a bad result. Whereas the people who do not take responsibility for their actions, who do not think that they've done anything wrong, they sort of don't get like an instant karma, because they're not focused on, fearing the results of their actions.
So there's that as well. So we've done all of this, we've inquired about exactly what is going on at the back of our head. You've done this thing really honestly with yourself, and you have a reasoning behind why you're feeling guilty about things and why you're not forgiving yourself, even if you can quite easily, drop the blame. For example, so I was rude to this person because I wanted to feel respected, and this person does not respect me. So this was one of the ways that I could have gotten their respect. Now I want you to write down a list of things that you can do to achieve that thing. And now I want you to take this result and keep that in your mind. The next time when that guilt pops up, I'm supposed to do this anytime this comes up, because here's the thing, this is a pattern. Anything that we do over and over again is a pattern. So yeah, do it over and over again anytime it comes up. Put into motion this new pattern wherein you're extending that sort of grace to yourself. Another thing that you can do is to incorporate a self-forgiveness meditation into your routine. A short one, you don't have to go into like a 5-hour-long psychedelic session to relieve yourself of this. And to always keep in mind that this is a choice, even if it might not feel that way. In a lot of ways, it is our choice to blame ourselves or to forgive ourselves, and we choose these things unconsciously, sure. But the thing with the unconscious is that, it's unconscious until we make it conscious, right? And once you realize that, okay, I'm doing this action unconsciously, the next time when you're doing this consciously, you can change. So it doesn't remain unconscious. So it becomes a choice, and now you're going to choose differently. And when you start choosing differently, that things are going to change for sure. And if this does not improve still, another way to do change would be through self-acceptance. That yes, fine, I am a bad person and I've done this bad thing, and it is okay. I'm not going to do it again because that is going to be my choice. And right now I'm feeling like I deserve to be blamed and I shouldn't be forgiven, and that is fine. For now, it is not a begrudging acceptance, like fine, oh, okay, I accept. No, not that way. You have to be radically accepting about these patterns, because they're here for a reason, even if that reason is something absolutely shitty, like mortifying ourselves or humiliating ourselves. So accept yourself, accept that blame, and remember that it's not going to be here forever.
Even if it might have been with you forever, the resistance of anything is going to make it persist in your life. Resistance is persist. Resistance causes persistence, or whatever the fit. So don't resist it. Accept it.
It's going to hurt a lot. I'll warn you. If it's something that is a deeply rooted pain, it's going to hurt a lot. Not for long. It will shift. That's a guarantee with acceptance. So do that. Simple. The simplest way is to accept it. And what do you accept? With the exercise that you've done, now you know what your exact problem is, and you accept that. So again, with that example, I was rude to that person because I wanted to feel respected, and I don't feel like this person respects me. So I was standing up for myself, and I think standing up for myself is wrong if it hurts another person or whatever the frick. So what you do is, yes, I did that, and that is fine. For now, it is fine, and I accept the blame, and that is fine. And I don't think that I deserve to stand up for myself, and that is fine. For now, I'm never going to stand up for myself, and that is fine. And then, you do this oftentimes, and you'll realize that the guilt lessens, and it will lessen. And then you sort of softly encourage yourself into accepting the fact that No, you deserve to be respected. And if someone is not respecting your boundaries, you deserve to stand up for yourself, even if it means hurting another person. That does not make you a bad person. You think that way because maybe when you were younger, your parents taught you that respecting your elders is the most important. Even if they're disrespecting your values, even if they're being mean to you, you must respect your elders. Or you saw someone else being judged or being reprimanded for disrespecting another person, and that sort of like became like a deep-rooted in your brain that, okay, so if I don't respect another person, this bad thing would happen to me. So I'd rather guilt myself into never doing this because I'm so scared that this bad thing might happen to me. So accept it. Accept that this is where I am right now, and that's fine. For now, it's fine. And then it'll shift.